First of all, what I'm going to do is talk about, you may as well stay to that camera because I'm a peripatetic lecturer.
No, I move it, yeah.
Peripatetic means like to walk like Aristotle or whoever he was who used to walk and lecture and talk and things. So what I'm going to do is talk about the body a little bit. How it functions is, people think the blood is the most important system in the whole body. It isn't. The main purpose of the red blood cells is to transport oxygen to other cells. That's pretty important. It doesn't have oxygen, of course you can't live for very long. You can live 6 minutes before there's nerve damage without oxygen. But after that, there's nerve damage. However, you cannot live without some nutrients in the body of potassium or phosphorus in the body for more than about 3 minutes. The white blood cells also act as fat cells and combine with toxins in the system if they get into the blood, and that's a protective system. The lymph system is a circulatory system that is more complex than the nervous system and the bloodstream. The lymph system is connected to the lacteal system, which is a web network attached to the intestine. As you absorb nutrients through the intestines, it's always a milky substance, that's why it's called lacteal system. It moves into the lymph system. The lymph system distributes the food to every cell in the body except for the blood cells. It feeds every cell in the body. Plus, it's responsible for eliminating all of the toxins and wastes and byproducts that go on throughout the system. It has to take those and it has to neutralize them, has to dissolve them, it may have to neutralize them again, and then send them out of one passage of the body, one or more passages. And your whole body is a bowel. When it calls you an asshole, say thank you. Exactly what I am. Because your skin is the major bowel. You discharge most of the poisons out through the skin. Tear ducts, earwax, gums, tongue, salivary glands, built into the hair, nails, mucous vaginal discharge, urinary tract, bowels. Body sends it out everywhere it can. Do you know that women are said to live 20% longer than men? Do you know what the discharge in mucus is out the vaginal cavity? Greater than a man's? 20%. So all you women who complain, be happy. You're less toxic. 1 out of 3 women gets cancer as of the year 2000. 1 out of 2 men gets cancer. Be happy you have that vaginal discharge, even if it stinks. Just get on a good diet so it doesn't stink. So the body uses the lymph system more than any other system in the body. To me, it is the most important system there is. Problem in the lymph system, if it gets congested, the body cannot feed itself properly, nor remove wastes properly, and then excrete them and secrete them out of the body. What causes this congestion? We'll get into that when we start talking about foods and nutrients. The nervous system transports information, light. It's transported. How? By metals, metallic minerals in the body. Minerals that are joined, chelated, you might call, or bond with other nutrients. There are never free radicals working in the brain if the brain is functioning properly. A free radical is a heavy metal that isn't conjoined with some other nutrient, whether it's a vitamin A, vitamin E, another mineral, and other fluids and fats. It's always coupled with something else. Any bioactive substance is always a combination of substance and is not a free radical. It does not operate on its own. Any of those that are isolated and are on their own are contaminants. They are free radicals. Most health food people specifically make a free radical as a heavy metal toxin that has no coupling. But anything can be a free radical. So for our purposes, we're going to call any nutrient that is not coupled no longer a nutrient, but a caustic substance that can cause damage. Most of them gravitate to the nervous system because the nervous system uses heavy metals. All kinds of metals, metallic minerals, to do its job of transmitting information and light. So when people have rotting teeth, why do you think they have rotting teeth? Do you think it's from bacteria, like you're told? No. Bacteria comes in response to the heavy metals draining from the brain, going out the gums, causing plaque around the gums. The metal hangs around there. What happens if you put battery acid? There's some very heavy metals. It'll eat a hole in your arm, in your skin, no matter where you are. Put mercury on your skin. It'll contaminate and turn the area gray and then black and then rot. A lot of metals you just put on your skin and it will damage it. When that comes in contact with your teeth, it destroys the enamel cells. What happens to these cells once it's damaged? It starts decaying. The bacteria is there to get rid of the decaying tissue. It doesn't cause the cavity. The heavy toxic substances from the brain leaking out your gums, on your teeth, hanging on your teeth, that's what causes the problem. So it's not the bacteria that's the problem. That's why attacking the body with fluoride, which is heavy metals, it causes more. Do you know that the tests, does anybody know about those tests that they did on fluoride? Do you know why there was fewer cavities in the groups that had fluoride? Because their teeth fell out. They had less teeth. Teeth actually fell out. Somewhere around 22% of their teeth fell out. The people who were taking the fluoride. 22% of their teeth lost. Certainly they have less cavities. They don't say they also had less teeth. So you've got to watch these, these people are out to sell fluoride. They've got a contaminated substance that they're using. The gold industry uses fluoride to clean, and there's a water process. You don't need fluoride. But these companies want to sell fluoride. So then within the contaminated waste, they have to pay millions of dollars to contain this waste. Why not sell it on the public as something good and feed it to the world? Vitamin E is the same thing. You know what vitamin E is? 99.9% of the vitamin E out there that you buy, that you see in the store, it's a byproduct of Fuji and Kodak. Their chemical process of developing film. It's a byproduct of that. And some scientists got the idea that, hey, look at the molecular structure. It's 85 to 87% looks like D-alpha tocopherol, which is vitamin E. So they got somebody to say, got a bunch of scientists to say that worked for Kodak and Fuji back in those days, a long time ago, in the 60s and late 50s. This is really vitamin E. See how the structure is so much identical? And they call it vitamin E, and everybody's eating this byproduct of developing film. No research showing anywhere that it acts like vitamin E and is helpful. It's a solvent. Of course people's skin is going to get thinner. Of course it's going to take away scar tissue because it's a solvent. Vitamin E acts as a solvent when necessary in the body, but it's not a pure solvent like this byproduct is. Diane Cannon, when I worked at Aunt Tilly's health food store in Beverly Hills, she would come in and buy a whole bottle a week of vitamin E. And after about 10 years of that, she ended up in an institution because her brain, everything got so thin, she went crazy. Got into addiction, just went nuts. I kept warning her, don't do it. And she went from this flushed, full-bodied, lovely woman into this skinny, thin-skinned maniac. And people don't realize it, you know, because they look good temporarily. What's going to happen in the long run? So you've got to watch what people are selling you, because they're out to make money. They don't give a shit what happens to you. They really don't. If it harms you, that's just collateral damage in the business world. And if you don't think it is that brutal out there in that corporate world, you're in la la land. Take a look at the tobacco industry. They put substances in there to cause addiction. They deny that it causes cancer and lung cancer and esophageal cancer and all of that. They deny that there's anything to it. Because these people are interested in making money, and that's that. Period. So only you can be knowledgeable and observant enough to take care of yourselves. And that's what we're talking about today. Taking care of yourselves to the best of your ability amongst all the pollution. And if somebody really ridicules because you're carrying your cooler, and I'm carrying my cooler with all my food, you let them ridicule. All they want is they break down and get sicker and more disease. Because they'll be the ones who suffer. You won't be suffering, but they will. That's what you want. Let them suffer. Those who want to suffer, let them suffer. You just take care of yourself so you don't. So the neurological system has the attraction to almost all the heavy metals that there is in the body. About 80% of the heavy metals that are consumed in the body in a day go to the brain. Next, they go to the bones, or to some of the glands that are high in fat. Liver's not terribly high in fat, it's concentrated in protein, but your pancreas, gallbladder, spleen, very high in fat, brain's exceedingly high in fat. So most of your metals store in those areas, in the prostate gland, the gonads, the ovaries. All those places are reservoirs for toxins because of the high fat level. Now, where do these toxins come from? Do you know that herbal teas, you can get it from herbal teas. You know why? Because there's heavy metals in all of food. You've got iron, you've got lead, you've got all the minerals that are in the earth in every food that you eat. When you cook them, you break the link. Then they become free radicals. And if your pancreas in your system isn't extremely resourceful to be able to leach nutrients from your body to recouple them while you're still in the digestive tract, guess what's going to be running around in your body? Free radicals, damaging everything and everywhere. That's why people get old and decrepit. There should be no synonymy with aging and deterioration. In the Andes mountains, they eat a tremendous amount of raw meat, and when they cook something, sometimes it's very light. But here you have 90-year-old men involved in a kickball exercise through the Andes Mountains. We're talking about really high, 100 miles. And what they do is they get about 20 of them at a time, and you have groups of them. And one will come up and kick the ball, fall back behind, and they just keep rotating like that for 100 miles, kicking that ball. And you may have 50 to 60 of those 20 people groups. Every year they do this. 90-year-old men get up there and do that. Do you know the people in this country who do it? I know a few of them. They're active buddies of mine. One of them would consume two bottles of aspirin in the 100-mile race. 2 bottles of aspirin to be able to make it. He probably wouldn't make, but regular, marathon, 26 miles, and that's it. He would never make it if he didn't have his drug, the aspirin. But you know what happens to him when it's over? He has to isolate himself completely in a room for 20 days. You know why? Aspirin stops blood clotting. So his skin gets like tissue paper. If I went like this to him, I'd rip the skin right off of his leg. Just doing that. The skin would just peel right off, just like tissue paper. So he has to isolate himself, eat tremendous amounts of protein, just to be able to rebuild and re-heal. So he can go out, and it's a year before his skin is better, and then he does another one. Hello? And what I say, what does it prove? Oh, it feels really good to do it. I say, wait a minute, it takes you a year to recover, and you say, feels really good? What, while you're running? You know, then you're isolated for 20 days in a room. Oh, it feels good. It's okay. Worth it? You know, hello? Okay. But that's his choice, so I really can't judge it. But not for me, certainly. And get perspective on what you're really going through. You might change your mind about what you do, too, and what you eat. Yes?
What do the guys in the Andes do?
They don't chew on anything.
They're just fine.
Yeah, they're fine. And I mean, they may pick up a leaf to eat on the way or something like that. But most of them, they don't eat anything during that whole 100 miles. They don't even drink water. You know, they just chew on some leaves to get a little bit of moisture. Sometimes as they do it. Some pine needles sometimes. Pine needles are full of oils and fats. So, you know, you need a lot to keep your mouth lubricated if you do that. They don't really, you know, they'll chew on them, break them, but not really chew them to eat them. They just squeeze the juice out of it. Got a little bit of oil.
Wow.
The glands are responsible for keeping energy levels up. They produce hormones to keep certain levels of functionality going. Prostaglandins are intercellular hormones that are produced to keep a cell vital and pumping and energetic. If any of these systems break down, then chronic fatigue will settle in a gland or the whole body. Many glands or the whole body, the whole system. Anytime anything malfunctions in the body, it's either from starvation, malnutrition, or from contamination. A lot of people say, oh, it's all in your head. That is absolute bullshit. There's nothing that happens in the head that doesn't happen in the physiology first. Take, for example, I've got one client, I think I talked about her in the recipe book. 27 years on 5 drugs a day for psychological problems. On and off the diet, Every time, you know, she'd go through this emotional thing, she would stop eating the diet and go for donuts and all this other garbage. And finally, after a year and a half, I said, you know, and she got yoga tapes out there and all this stuff, teaching that kind of. She's so opposite of everything that she's teaching. It's odd reality. It's what she wants to achieve, so she's teaching everybody else to teach herself, maybe. And that's probably what it is. So after a year and a half, I said, I'm going to give her a false name, Jennifer. Jennifer, if you don't try the high meat, I'm not going to work with you anymore. You take me on these roller coasters, I take the ride with you, but it's very exhausting and very time-consuming. You need to pull it together, and you need to do something a little bit more difficult. You need to either stick with the diet or try the high meat. I'm already on this crazy diet where I eat this raw meat. I can't, it's antisocial. Boom. Happens to me a lot with these particular psychologically challenged people. So, you can't take it personally. It's like if I want an elephant to be a tiger, it's never going to happen, so I don't expect it to be different than it is like that. So, she called me, a few hours later. Okay, how do I do this high meat thing? I said, well, it takes about, 10 days. I don't have 10 days. I might kill myself tonight. started saying, well, it could be easy on all of us. Instead I said, well, I know somebody who has a lot, made, pre-made, you could probably buy some from them. So I called the fellow, gave him her number if he wanted to sell her some, and he did. So he sold her some. So I get this call about 10:30 at night saying, from Jennifer. I just took the high meat about 40 minutes ago, and I'm really nervous. I've got a lot of anxiety about this, and I need to talk with you. And I said, no way I'm answering that phone. I'll be nursing, babysitting her all through the night. So every hour I get this call. I still need to talk with you. I'm really nervous about this. What could happen to me? Don't answer the phone. After about 4 hours, Aajonus, please answer the phone. She's getting very nice. Every hour, she's getting nicer. And this was a woman that used to say, on a good day was, I feel good today. That was a good day. And that was a very good day. If she said that, like that. So by 5 o'clock in the morning, about 4:30 in the morning, 4:45 I think it was, she says, okay, I'm going to stay on the phone until you answer. And she starts whistling this happy tune. I said, it's time to talk with her. So I picked up the phone. We had a 10-minute conversation. Went to sleep. She went to sleep. It was that easy. And if I had been on the phone with her, it would have just charged more of her fears. It would have been, I would have wasted the whole night on the phone with her. But she got through it. Now, she eats it every day. She eats high meat every day because it makes her feel so good.
How much? Quantity?
She eats about a golf ball size amount every day. Sometimes a large marble size, but mostly a golf ball size. I have one guy that suffered it for 40 years. Depression for 40 years. He only eats high meat. He doesn't eat any, and he eats 2 pounds a day. If it doesn't stink and it isn't rotting, he won't eat it. And he is the nicest, most delightful guy. And he's a landscaper. Heavy duty work, And he's out there doing it with all this energy and as happy as can be now. For 40 years he was depressed. So, and people talk, that is what will kill you. You're going to get flus, parasites, bacteria. It's going to kill you. It's going to rot your brain. It is not true. And every doctor that opens his mouth, and every person that opens their mouth to you and says something about it, say, show me any case where it's happened. And I've said this to 100 doctors. And at Yale, too, when I gave a lecture there. I said, show me one case where that's proven. Now, don't you feel stupid? And that's just what I asked him. He said, don't you feel stupid? You're out there postulating something you don't know shit about. How do you feel about that? What if it makes people feel really good and it changes their entire lives to better, and you're here knocking it down and you don't know? And you're just parroting something because it sounds good. It sounds like it probably exists. But it has nothing to do with reality. So how do you get the body working properly? It's what you feed it, yes. High meat is when you take meat and you encourage bacteria to grow on it. Fermented, yeah, that's only the bacteria that breeds alcohol. But there are many different bacteria that will break down the proteins and the fats. Just like in milk, you have acidophilus, which breaks down the sugars, the bulgaricus, which breaks down the fat, and glycosaminoglycanus, which breaks down the protein. So you have a variety. Those are just 3 of the main ones that operate in milk to help it break down. And if you encourage the acidophilus over the bulgaricus and glycosaminoglycanus, it'll be sweeter fermented milk, like kefir and yogurt, rather than a very heavy, bitter, nasty tasting one where the bulgaricus and glycosaminoglycanus predominate. But if you want to get well quicker, you have the bitter, nasty tasting.
I've got a quick question.
Yes.
And this is so that I can continue to pay attention to what you're saying. I've been following the diet, the raw meat diet, for about 4 months. And I've been focused at getting my meat at Whole Foods, organic meat. Right? And so far I've heard you say you've retrieved fish out of the trash. You've eaten raw in restaurant, which was that you didn't say whether that was organic or
Close
restaurant. So sometimes if I'm hungry, Whole Foods isn't open and I don't have raw meat. What about getting raw meat from the Safeway or Albertsons or something like that?
I ate mad cow for 3.5 years when I lived in Paris. I don't have a
Thank you.
I did. I ate mad cow for 3.5 years. It was only a month at a time, but it was 3 months out of a year for 3.5 years. And my girlfriend who lived in Paris said, "You're not going to marry me, it's over." So it was over. So I was finished with my mad cow experiment. But I didn't know it was mad cow until she said, "That's it, it's over." I got on the plane and I look at a magazine and it tells me that Carrefour supermarkets had been selling and utilizing the mad cow meat for 10 years. Well, for the last 3.5 years, when I was in Paris, that's where I got my meat, from Carrefour supermarkets. So I've been eating the mad cow for that many years. Just remember, if something is raw, the animal has going to have taken care of a lot of those toxins in its body and put them in a way and composed them in such a combination in the system where it wouldn't hurt them. So when you eat it, those toxins, your body doesn't have to digest them. It'll just pass it through undigested. How do I know that? Because what I did some experiments. Took some animals who weren't quite well. This wasn't the same group of animals. They weren't real strong, real healthy. But I took swordfish, the highest fish in mercury. Half of them ate cooked, half of them ate raw. So 7 in the group that ate cooked, 8 in the group that ate raw. I was the 8th animal. So I ate it raw. Now we had the swordfish, we bought 1 swordfish, and we fed it for 10 days. Now, we checked the feces, we tested urine, we sometimes checked the feces, urine, and blood frequently over the next 10 days that we fed the fish, cooked and raw. In the animals that ate it raw, 98% of that mercury passed out in those fluids, urine and feces. The other 2% probably went out to the skin, or the tongue or somewhere else, salivary gland, tear duct somewhere else. In the animals that ate it cooked, 8% passed out of the body. 8% passed out. That means 92%, or a little less than that, stored in the system. Just remember, if you eat it raw, you're not likely to store, digest, and absorb it. In the feces of those that ate it raw, including mine, the fat molecules that had surrounded the mercury had been relatively unetched by digestive juices and enzymes. When the body is smart and intelligent and not flooded with cooked substances, the body knows and identifies. It can take the time to discern, well, we want this and we don't want that. But then you inundate it with something cooked, and you're just filling it with toxicity. It's got to make too many decisions with little nutrients. So yeah, go into a restaurant sometimes and eat with your friends. I used to do it frequently. I don't do it as much right now because I'm working all the time. But I used to visit restaurants 3 days a week. Had my raw steak, cold on a cold plate. California, it's wonderful because we have a law to protect us. Any restaurant refuses me in California, I keep the law in my glove compartment, take it into the restaurant with me, and I say cold steak on a cold plate. You know, whether it's fish or, you know, salmon or swordfish, whatever it is. Cold steak on a cold plate, or sirloin, whatever. So we can't do that. The law is you have to cook everything. I said, no, it isn't. In the law it says everything has to be well done unless the patron asks for it raw.
Wow.
Or you put on the menu or have it posted in the restaurant that it's less than well done cooked. Because if it didn't, there would be no sushi bars, there would be no steak tartare, there would be no Caesar salad, because Caesar salad has raw egg in it. So I've got the law, so I handed it to them. I said, if you don't want to serve me, I'll own the restaurant. Jokingly, I say that, but they get it, and I've never been refused in California. Not at all. I was refused once in Seattle, Washington, at an Irish restaurant. So I finally got the manager to let me eat the hamburger on top of it. I just wanted the hamburger, but they wouldn't serve me the hamburger on the salad without the salad with it. So I signed on a napkin. If I get bacterial food poisoning in response of eating this raw hamburger, it's my responsibility, not this restaurant. The name of the restaurant. Signed it, gave it to it. So I got my... And one time I went In-N-Out Burger. And they're the only ones that don't freeze their meat. But I was bicycling, you know, across country. This was in 1980 something. And, you know, I was starving. And I was in this little 2-horse town. It was the only place open. So I went to In-N-Out Burger. I said, I don't want your bun, I just want your meat patty, and that's it. Raw. And this kid says, are you crazy? No. He said, well, I can't serve it to you without the bun. I said, well, give me the frickin' bun with it then. I just throw away the bun and eat the hamburger. That's what I did. He said, you want to Coke with that? Yeah, give me a chemical drink. Yeah, so, you know, I mean, it's always preferable. You get more nutrients in good grass-fed, all-grazed beef and animals. The better, you know, the better the meat is, the healthier you're going to get from it. But sometimes it's just not possible. And your body will do better than it would. Before it's cooked, it sets all those poisons free. Okay, so I'm going to reserve all questions till the end because then we'll really get sidetracked. So, if you have a question, write it down. And then we'll ask it at the Q&A period, which is at the end. Okay? All right, so we covered how the body responds, how it works. We talked about the glands creating energy for the body. Now, people have different levels of glandular activity, different hormone levels. I can tell through what I call worry circles in the eye. Other odontologists call stress rings. I don't like to call stress rings because most people think they have no power over stress. All it means is I really should call them, but I want to get a point across. They can lead to ill symptoms. It's how much hormones, how much physical activity fluids you produce in the body. People who have from 7 to 11 are all athletes. They have to exercise and work out and stay active 7 to 10 hours a day. Or they're construction workers, some dead ditch diggers, some kind of activity that keeps them moving all day long. The fewer you have, the less activity, less exercise you have to do. People who have no worry circles like me, this is the exercise. Cary Grant used to say, how about your exercise? And this is what he would say. This is my exercise. On my computer, that's what I do. In my mouth. So that's my exercise, because I have no worry circles in my eye. So I used to have all this overactive sex life. Thank God that's calmed down. But, you know, that used to be the only one that was overproducing, and sex was always on my mind. I mean, when I was a kid, I'd masturbate 5 times a day or else I couldn't sleep. You know? And that's just a gland. That was the only gland I had, just overproductive and overproductive. And it led up until about 5 years ago, and it's calmed down. So, you know, everybody has to exercise to an extent if you have any worry circles. You have 2 in your eyes, you need to have about 45 minutes a day. 3 in your eyes, hour and 15 minutes a day. 4 in your eyes, 2 hours a day. 5 in your eyes, 3 hours a day. And just works up to a higher level. And if you don't, guess what? Your body's going to burn those hormones through emotional energy. And that's worry, anxiety. Exercise, anxiety, worry. What do you want to do? Huh? Some people like drama. So for actors, don't exercise. Get out there and get in a show. Drive all your friends crazy and everybody else crazy. But exercise and you can do both. You can have a good life and feel good and be mentally balanced. Children are the same way. They eat garbage food, they feel depressed, they can't digest, so the body wants to hang out. You have all these hormones pumping, so they get irritable and cranky. Because they need to exercise, they need to get out and get physically active, and they don't have the proper nutrients in the body to do it. So it's like the craziness, it's like a kid who wants to sleep and he's crying and whining because his body's trying to burn off this hormone. And I hear fathers and mothers, calm down, kid, calm down. I said, don't calm that kid down. Just let him go nuts around here. As long as he's going nuts, when you get home, you'll be able to sleep and have fun. And so will he. But you stop him now, and it's just going to be worse later, because he's going to be tired and have to burn hormones. So he's going to be real cranky. And that's like asking a drunk to be sober. It's not going to happen. You're not going to have an obedient child. Because children are completely animals. They react on their hormone and physiological biochemistry. That is what they operate on, solely, like all animals do. And that's the way it should be. But we're so diseased that we want to control the child without controlling the natural state of health that controls their behavior. I'll give you an example. I have a girlfriend in Vietnam, 4-year-old girl. I met the little girl, and she was mean as skinny and as mean can be. Very poor family. And I said, okay, I'm going to buy you a refrigerator. I need you to go out and find some raw milk and feed her raw milk. In 1 month, the little girl put on weight, bright, intelligent. She'd sit there and talk intelligent, long, in-depth conversations with her. I just spent, a week with her a month ago in Vietnam. And the girl just sits down here so calm and funny and intelligent. And when she was on everything, soda pop and just all the rice that they eat with no meat, she was horrendous. And boy, she could out-eat both her mother and me. She would sit down to a plate of shrimp and consume the entire plate of shrimp. She wouldn't let us have it until she was finished and satiated. We didn't care because, it kept her calm. And then we'd order more for us after she finished. But that's the way behavior in children is. I was telling Stephan about some of the children who were born on this diet. When the mothers were on the diet. We've got one kid named Forrest who before this year, when he was 1.5 years, I was in New Jersey giving a seminar, and I stay with the family whenever I'm in New Jersey doing the seminars there. They presented at their Kung Fu Academy. And little Forrest was a little over 1.5 years. He returned 2 at the end of December, his birthday. And he was sitting with his 4-year-old cousin. And Nicole, his mother, came home, brought him a new puzzle toy, put it between he and his cousin. And he looked at it, he knew his cousin was going to take over the new toy and play with it, until she was finished, and he would take care of it afterwards. That's how patient this kid was. So And all this kid ate from the time that his mother stopped breastfeeding him, which was, I think, about 4 months old, because he kept having colic from her milk, just a little bit. So I suggested that she just feed him raw cow's milk. The cow's been on a raw diet all of its life. She's only been on a raw diet for about 8, 9 months. So of course she's going to have contaminants in her body that are going to get into the milk. So she resisted, and it's not natural. I said, it's not natural to feed the baby toxic milk if you can feed them good, healthy raw milk from a cow. So she said, but the cow's milk won't help the baby grow as intelligent as a human. I said, we'll see about that. So he liked the milk, it was okay, but he had an affinity toward buffalo liver. So we blend him half buffalo liver and half milk. And that's what he had in his bottle for still drinks. And he'll be 4 years old in December. But he was a little over a year and a half, sat there, watched his cousin. Now what this puzzle was, it was a wooden board cut out with the indentations of the alphabet. And then the alphabet to put it into proper shape, like a round, like a square object in a square peg, a square peg in a square hole, like this. So it was the alphabet. And the cousin didn't, in 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes, she didn't get one in its proper place. 4.5-year-old. Little Forrest, we had no idea what he went on in him, because we just talked about little things. He goes P, S, A, all of them, without missing a beat, put everyone in. 2 minutes. The whole thing. And Nicole and Ray and I are looking at each other. This kid's pretty special. And Nicole says, his mother says, okay, sing the alphabet song. We had no idea. Without a beat, he sings the whole alphabet song. I said, okay, sing it backwards. Without it missing a beat, he sang the whole alphabet song backwards.
Whoa.
At 3 years old, he was reading 8th grade material to his preschool classmates.
Wow.
Now, his sister came 18 months later. Now she's 18 months old and showing the same signs. So the whole family knows now it isn't just a fluke of that one child. It really has to do with their diet. And that family is strict on the diet. And those kids are immaculate. Got another family who has 5 children. 2 of them born with the mother on the diet. They were born with eyes open and seeing. So was Forrest and his sister. A consciousness, holding their heads up at birth. Completely able to hold their own heads up at birth. Childbirth, 2 contractions. Can you imagine having a childbirth, 2 contractions? 2 contractions. And both of them, Nicole and Sherry, both. Okay, I think the head's going to come out this time, or I think it's going to start moving this time. And both of the fathers saying the head's already out. That was from 1 contraction. Second contraction, completely released.
Whoa.
Just like that. Gone, out. Just like a gorilla I saw pass. 2 contractions. The fetus was out. The baby was out. So, diet has everything to do, biochemistry has everything to do with behavior and intelligence. I told, I don't know if anybody remember who Paul Cohen is. Paul Cohen was one of the world's greatest tennis players way back in the 50s, before McEnroe, and he was McEnroe's coach for 10 years. He's on the diet, been on the diet for 10 years. He's got a 15-year-old daughter. So I was telling her this morning, I was consulting him, about this girl who was in Nevada City who went on the diet. Her mother forced her to be on the diet. The parents had divorced the year before. The mother was not feeling well. She went on this diet from exposure to some other people who were doing the diet. And she forced her daughter to be on it. The daughter rebelled. Daughter was a pretty good student, pretty good person, B B average, maybe minus, to average B level. Wanted to be a professional ballet dancer. And she was an okay dancer. So in that year that her mother forced her to be on the diet in the morning and after school all day long, and she had to take a milkshake to eat sometime during the day, even if she ate with her classmates. At the end of that year, she had gone to the top student in the whole school, and she had become the top ballet dancer. Guess who came to me personally a free voluntary will the next year? She got a scholarship for at Juilliard for dance this last year. Just going on the time. It makes all the difference in the world. Some people get it and some people don't. With children. And this girl got it. And I think that this girl this morning, London, got it. But we'll see. We will see. Because she's been fighting with her father since she was born. 4 years old. So behavior has a lot to do with what you're, in fact, about everything you have to do if you're a child. It's all dietary. When you're an adult, you've got that, you've learned to, be comfortably numb, to fight everything, to adjust, to do all these mental gyrations. And we shouldn't have to go through all that to be happy. Being happy should be as natural as breathing. And it can if you're on a good diet long enough. Some people get happy right away. Some people are so toxic it takes them longer. You just have to be patient. So, and there was nobody that wanted to end their life, more than I did. I was just never successful. One time I had the answer of how to kill myself. I had the answer. I knew it. I stayed up for days without sleeping. I wrote all these letters to everybody I didn't mean to, just to take up the time to stay awake, to say I'm sorry, but you deserved it. It happened. Just want to say that I wish you everything good. Even at that time, you deserve what you got. I wish you everything good now. So that's what I went on for days writing things like that. My parents, my brothers, ex-girlfriends, ex-everybody, teachers, everybody keep my mind active so I can stay awake. So on the third day, I taped used duct tape, taped my arms together, took a large plastic bag, 10 mil thick, garbage bag, put over my head with this rubber band that was an inch wide and about 1/8 of an inch thick. Put that around my neck, got down, put my legs through my arms, so my arms were behind my back, and went to sleep. I woke up with my body flailing like a fish out of water and passed out. When I awakened, somehow the plastic, I had it down to here, had worked its way all the way up to where I could breathe. So not even that worked. Because I wouldn't use gas and it would shoot myself because that's contaminating the earth. So I had to do it naturally. That didn't work. And for some reason, it got rid of my depression. I was after the poison mushroom. I depressed every day for 3.5 years. And I did that, and it stopped. And I realized, wait a minute, maybe we're getting too much oxygen. Maybe we need to be needing more carbon dioxide. So, people breathe to get rid of high anxiety, hyperthermia. They just go into breathe into the bag, and they're rebreathing their own carbon dioxide. Hey, it works. So again, it's a chemistry thing. And it can change depression. But it's not permanent, long-lasting like high maintenance. It's just after some stinky stuff. The body operates starting from the time you get up in the morning. And it has cycles of what is good to eat and what isn't. I'm going to leave that as the hook, go into, we're going to get into that, what to eat, what time of the day, and why. But first I'm going to go into the foods and what they do. Now, carbohydrates. They've been giving the big pump for athletes and everything. Carbs, 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 carbs. But what is the result of high carb intake? Advanced glycation end products, acrylamides, all kinds of byproducts. According to Columbia University, it's at New York City's Medical Center, advanced glycation end products, no matter if it's from a raw food or a cooked food, store at a rate of 70 to 90% in the human body for a lifetime. Every time you eat a carb, 70 to 90% of the advanced glycation end product, which is always there when you utilize carbohydrate in your body. Advanced glycation end product is a byproduct always. If you're in a healthy state, which most people aren't, you'll store only 70%. If you're in an ill state, like people with diabetes or kidney problems, 90% of it stores in the body for a lifetime. Collects and collects and collects. Is that what happens? Turns into an acid. It starts eating away the body like battery acid, or it's the muriatic acid. And it's a molecular structure similar to muriatic acid. And does anybody know what they use muriatic acid for?
Swimming pools.
Cleaning swimming pools, cleaning paint off of concrete or brick. That's how strong that acid is, and it smells like really toxic eggs.
Did you just say for a lifetime?
For a lifetime. If you're on a bad diet, it's a lifetime. That's all you observe people on bad diets. So that's all they see, is it stores and keeps collecting. It's a road toward all kinds of diseases, depending upon what your particular deficiency results in. You know, if you're drying out all over the place, you can end up with lupus or MS or arteriosclerosis. If it stores in the pancreas, you can end up with diabetes. You end up with kidney failure. You could end up, on machines, getting, dialysis 3 times a week. It all depends upon your particular body and system, how it's going to resolve. So, carbohydrates is really not things that a man should eat much of, is it? If you're looking at that. So protein. Protein, what does that do in the body? Every system in the body builds from protein. Every cell builds from protein. It's an important substance. Well, what happens when it's cooked? There's a lot of more uric acid, there are heterocyclic amines that are formed, and a number of other byproducts. But the most so-called dangerous and been studied is the heterocyclic amine. And it's involved in lots of cancer. That particular substance is found in lots of cancer tissue. The highest concentration of anything is called acrylamides. And acrylamides are from carbohydrates, fried carbohydrates, the highest amount. 60% of the fluids that are found in all cancers are acrylamides. That's why a whole team of scientists in Sweden wanted to outlaw French fries, any kind of chips, and cereals. A team of 14 full professor scientists came out with this result, and they went public with it to the press before they approved it with their university. Guess who got fired? How many billions of dollars are in chips and cereals and French fries in the world? And this is a legitimate study. It went on for 15 years. Everything about it completely true. Did you hear about it? I think it was in 4 newspapers. One day and it was gone. Only place that carried it frequently was Europe, England. Covered a lot. Probably 15 or 16 different titles or different articles. So, with the protein, we have mainly the heterocyclic amine, which is also involved in cancer tissue, also involved in some heart disease, but it's mainly cramping, not hardening of the arteries. If we take a look at the tribes who eat meat, you know, because they say hardening of the arteries, hardening of the heart is caused by eating red meat fat. But yet the tribes who eat only meat and cook it all have no heart disease and no hardening of the arteries. Again, bullshit. Who started that one? The vegetable oil industry in the 50s started that. When people started eating vegetable oils instead of lard. People that start eating rendered fats and eat vegetable oils. Yet the vegetable oils, guess what they turn into in the body? Resins. They harden, crystallize in the system. So what causes hardening of the arteries and heart disease? Arteriosclerosis, most MS. Vegetable oils. Herbivores' body temperature is about 100 to 101 degrees. For vegetable oils to stay fluid, they have to stay that warm. In the body, human body, at 98.6 or lower, except during fevers, the fats that your body makes, you know, fats, it uses vegetable fats as a part of a cellular building, cellular structure. Over a period of 10 years, a little more or less, it crystallizes and hardens into a resin. Do you know what the stone amber is? Fat from a tree. Do you know what causes kidney stones, bladder stones, liver stones? Vegetable oils, especially hydrogenated vegetable oils, which have the same molecular structure as plastic. They crystallize and harden. Half of my cancer patients have been long-term vegetarians. 50% have been long-term vegetarians. Linda McCartney. Well, she said to her husband, Paul, you eat meat and you're not with me, we'll get an instant divorce. So he used to have to go off to hamburger joints and stuff when he was on tour and she was away and sneak in his hamburger or his meat. And what did she die of? She said, I will never have cancer because I'm a vegetarian. Anybody know what she died of? Very aggressive breast cancer. It was very painful and took her very quickly. We have all this propaganda out there and no clear science. Keeps people confused and doing the wrong thing. Then we have fats. Fats in the body, this is part of the fat cycle we're talking about. Fats lubricate. The body makes them into solvents to dissolve toxicity. They protect the body. And they arrest toxins and contain them. And they give you the strongest amount of energy that you can have. Take a look at your bodybuilders. All muscle, very little fat. Are they very strong? Put them up against a weightlifter. And how big are your weightlifters? Almost 100% of your weightlifters are fat. Lots of extra fat. Your wrestlers, plenty of fat. 27 to 30% fat in their bodies. Bodybuilders, 12% fat. No strength, no stamina. Look pretty, but they aren't strong. Like fat people are. So fat gives you the strongest energy that you can have. Fat to me, like I say in both books, is the most important nutrient, base nutrient that you can consume. Let me give you an example. 2 years ago, I was in North Carolina in a community called Earth Haven. And they were a bunch of hippies from my era. I'm working my 59th year, so I'm getting near 60 there. And they've all been vegetarians and doing the whole, whole life thing. All of them sick, terribly sick. One of them was so sick his eyes turned black, he got chronically fatigued and couldn't move. Went on the diet, within 6 months a different person, a year and a half, vibrant person, helping everybody. So he got me over to, to this group, lecture for them, see them as patients. Well, this is the type of people that they are, very so-called conscientious. And that's all I'm used to seeing there. And all of a sudden this motorcycle guy, looking guy comes in. And I said, ooh. Okay. I can see this guy had been into drugs maybe 30 years, alcohol, probably 25 years, and he abused all of them because it showed in his skin. But he didn't look really sick. He just looked a little tired and worn. But his skin showed a lot of abuse. Had a lot of adipose tissue, the swelling and nodules all over the place. But his coloring was good, his blood looked good, everything looked good. And I shot his eyes, I went up there, I said, whoa, glands are clean. I said, I can see by your skin you've been a drug addict and an alcohol abuser for, 25, 30 years. He said, yep. And I said, this doesn't make sense. I said, you're only maybe 40, 35 pounds overweight. And, it takes people really, really fat to be able to withstand the kind of abuse that you went through. And he said, well, before I went on your diet 4 months ago, I was 300 pounds. And he'd been that way since he started abusing himself. Then it all made sense to me. Even if it's bad fat protects you. So people who are fat are much better than people who are thin. Even if it's toxic fat. You are protected. And I tell people that who are overweight, they say, oh,